When you trying to get a deal,
I'm
you
locked
turn
in.
on
I'm locked in.
Chris the dealer. Don't mess with me. Don't pass go. Don't play with me. That's what
Don't collect $200.
I mean, you turn into a different person, and I'd be like, all right,
You be like, all right, go ahead, get the deal. I'm gonna be over here.
right, because I can't. Sometimes I be like, he doing the most. He is doing the most.
I don't know. It's just something about the art of the deal.
Yeah, you were
I
like,
get into it.
They're into the car $500. Well, they ain't gonna get all $500. And you tell the guy, we gonna split the difference. I'm like, dude, they can't make no money up in here with this guy.
Hey, he made $250 on
He
that car.
did. You know what? He said, deal. I said, Lord have
Look,
mercy.
It's about moving units.
It is.
Okay.
So
The more units he moves, the less interest he's gonna pay on those loans on those cars that sit on his lot because they don't own them.
Lord have mercy.
Okay.
Okay. So
Look, don't get me going.
welcome. This is For Better and Worth.
The podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you grow and build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young. And we're so glad you're joining us today.
All right, y'all, let's get into it.
Hey, babe.
How you doing?
I don't know. I mean, I've been dealing with what I think is allergies for a couple days now.
I don't know at this point if it's considered allergies. I think it's like a mild cold.
You know what? I don't want to say that.
Well,
So I'm good. I'm just.
yeah. I mean,
I had the sniffles.
It's okay to deal with the reality of it. I mean, I've been coughing and looking just at
We've
myself.
been ucky.
Yeah,
It's one of them weeks.
Right. It's been a time. So
A time has been had, and it wasn't always great.
I don't know if it wasn't a great time that has been had. So, but you know what? That gives us something to talk to people about and really just reinforce why we talk about the stuff we talk about because. You know, our life isn't always perfect. Stuff happens to us just like it does to everyone else. And I think this is what we're going to get into today is just another example of why we tell people to have emergency funds, to get out of debt, to be ready.
Yeah.
See, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
That's right.
We're trying to help you get ready so you can stay ready too.
That's right. Yeah. And your kids. So last week, our baby girl, the youngest, who ain't no baby anymore, but she gonna always be my baby girl.
Right, that's my baby.
I know.
That's my baby right there.
And that's exactly how you were when they called us. The two children were together celebrating their birthdays together. And the youngest, Olivia, was driving Faith, the oldest, to the airport. And her car broke down on the side of the road. And that ain't never happened. Actually, it started malfunctioning on the freeway, which is real scary.
Yeah.
Scurry, okay?
Look, I saw that call come in from one.
And then we didn't get the call because we were on the call with somebody else.
I was trying to hang up.
And then they called me.
Yeah.
And then they called you again.
Then the second kid called me. I was like, oh, what's going on?
Oh, this is a problem.
And you know what's funny is they were like, Dad, we have a situation.
I was like, this ain't going to be good at all.
Well, I guess long story short is, she has an older car. And, we always told our kids, you work hard, you get scholarships. That's a reward for your hard work. Then we will reward you also, and we'll buy you a car at graduation. And, I mean, we say we're rewarding them, but they're actually rewarding us because...
saving us a whole bunch of money.
$100,000+ in college tuition because she got a full ride.
Right.
And so she said her car had broken down. I was like, oh, man. And we were headed somewhere, and I was like, instinctually, I was trying to check in with Ericka. I was like, hey, do you want me to drop you off where we were going, or you going with me?
I'm like, no. You ain't about to drop me off and my kid is stranded? What do you think this is?
I was like, you got to make a decision real quick because I'm about to hit a U-turn.
You like, I'm Mama Bear. You like, that's my baby. I'm like, I'm Mama Bear. I got to go make sure my baby's okay,
So we hit a U-turn and we got going. And our oldest didn't want to leave her sister, by herself. And I was like, that's commendable, but
get your butt in the car and get to the airport.
I'm gonna need you to catch that flight.
We're not dealing with that emergency too.
I need one less thing to deal with, and I need you to get an Uber, get out of there, and get on a flight. We're on our way.
Yeah, and it was 40 minutes. And so it's like, oh gosh, now we're ruminating about what's going to happen between now and then. And then they called us again and said, she is no longer stuck in a roundabout right off of the freeway. She is now in a ditch.
She said, we'll have to explain that when you get here.
I was like, wait a minute. Hold on.
Hold on.
Wait a minute. Hold on. So Olivia had called 911, which is the right thing to do. The cops came, and because the vehicle was not functioning, they gave her a push so that they can get her off of the roundabout. And it was a slight hill, which I guess was a good thing. It gave her a little momentum, but then it's scary when you don't have brakes and you don't have power steering.
Right. When the car had shut down, and long story short, she was able to turn onto a street, and she turned onto another.
She did.
Quick
she
street.
Was trying to avoid hitting the actual fence that was right there. And so she was trying really hard to maneuver this steering wheel to get in, basically to get to the ditch, which is what happened.
And car ended up in a ditch. It wasn't bad. We say ditch, but it was, it was an incline, but it was.
Had they gone a little further, it would have seriously been in a ditch.
Yeah, I think it was deep enough to qualify as a ditch because I got there and I stood and the car was like at my waist. So I was like, wow, okay. So what we're going to talk about today is the need for emergency funds, and not just for adults. Like, if you have an adult child who is nearing the end of college, about to be out on their own, or even one that's out on their own, they need an emergency fund just like you do, because you cannot rely on a credit card to be that fund and your catch-all, because that's just opening another Pandora's box. While you deal with the one emergency in front of you, you're building another situation that you don't want to deal with.
And I think a lot of people make different decisions when they use credit cards. We're freer when we're using someone else's money. We might spend more, not pay attention. Sometimes we forget to pay the doggone thing, right? And so
no bueno.
Be cautious. Like, you need to have even if you use the credit card for points, you need to have money set aside. Right. Period.
I mean, we're realistic. We know a lot of people still use credit cards because they say, I want to get the points, or I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, you're still spending more money than you would if you were paying cash, or if you were using your debit card and you were deducting that from your account immediately. I still think people spend more.
So basically, the sheriff was with Olivia and waited until we got there, thankfully. Yep. And, so she wasn't by herself in the dark, goodness. And we had to, while we were on the way there, we were giving her she had to have the insurance information to get a tow and all of that. And so this part, she ended up paying for towing that she didn't need to pay for. But she had money in her account. She was trying to make sure that the car got towed. And she didn't realize that we had a benefit and it should have been much less than that. But she had enough money to actually make the decision because she knew it was an emergency. Yeah. And that's the point.
She was in the situation and they told her to tow the car. It was going to be $443. I was like, wait a minute. Are we towing this car to Mars? Because it should not be that much money.
Right.
And, as parents, we're calling our insurance company and we're setting the tow up, and it turned out to be like $120. But she had already paid, and I was like, oh man. So the story just kept getting convoluted.
Right.
But ultimately, they didn't charge her. It was just pending on her account, and it fell off because we had them cancel it. But she was in a position, and she felt comfortable, like, I need to respond to the situation. And she had the money and was able to go ahead and pay it and not be concerned because she has a what?
Emergency fund.
Exactly.
And it didn't deplete her emergency fund. I think that's the other thing is a lot of times we're so concerned with using our own money, our own cash and that kind of thing. And she doesn't have a whole lot of experience in having an emergency of her own. But she knew enough that she had to act fast. And I think that when we're acting fast, a lot of times we don't double check and all of that kind of stuff, like how much we're supposed to be paying.
Right, you're
and all
impulsive.
That.
You make an impulsive, instinctive decision sometimes. But I was proud because they were together, and one was like, "Hey, we got to call Dad."
Yeah.
And the other one was like, "We got to call the police."
Right.
So together, I think they made two good decisions because they know Dad is going to be on the spot.
Yeah, and the sheriff stayed with her, and he said she did good. He was impressed with how she handled everything, and they had a couple jokes because our daughter's car, when she was talking to us on the phone, and she said, "Sweet Potato is in the ditch," and he was like,
Sweet Potato.
Your car is named Sweet Potato. Like, he had a kick out of that, But yeah, I mean, it was stressful because we had just gotten off the plane. I mean, we had a busy day that day, and we were like, wait a minute.
We had actually went and been with them and left them and came home. Like, we had driven from where they were to our home, and then for them to call us, we were like, man, we just left there. What is going on? So it was something else. But I think that this illustrates a story that a lot of people experience. Because I remember in the early days when we would have a car breakdown or we would have something go on, it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. Like, our emergency fund was like razor thin.
That's right.
And it was like, oh man, how are we going to respond? And I remember we had a car breakdown and we didn't have an emergency fund in place like our daughter has or like we have now. And we went some weeks, months.
I think we went 2 months with a brand new baby.
Yes.
And we carpooled together.
Two working professionals working in different locations.
Yeah.
But we carpooled for 2 months until we were able to save enough money to pay for the repair that we needed on the second car. And I think it gave us a greater appreciation for having two working vehicles. And then after that, we were like, nope, it's not going to happen again because we made sure that we had an emergency fund after that. Because I remember like when refrigerator goes out, washing machine breaks, first thing people do, they get a store card and they'll put it on the store card. It just gives you a different peace of mind when something comes up. You're like, oh, okay, well, stuff happens, things break. Let's just go figure it out, get what we need to get to fix the problem. That's a whole different feeling than when you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And the stress that's associated with that. So having an emergency fund, it's actually a pretty significant peace of mind.
Right. Like, you can be having an emergency and it not be amplified because you don't have no money.
Right.
Right. And that's the whole thing is like, if you have some money, it's less stressful. Even if you decide you're going to use a credit card and then pay it off with the money in your emergency fund, that's fine. It's just don't, go fooling yourself that you don't actually need to have money in savings. You be your own bank. I think that's the whole thing is like, you be your own bank.
So I think most people will say, okay, well, how much am I supposed to have in an emergency fund? And I think, the first thing you got to do is just like be able to bridge a small emergency. So as quickly as you can, save up that $500 to $1,000 like as a starting place. Because if you have $500 to $1,000, most emergencies that come up, most auto repairs or appliance breakdowns, that should be able to cover it or bridge the gap until you can figure out, what you need to do.
And if you use it, replenish it.
Yes.
If you use it, always replenish it. I say for young people, when they go get their first job, a lot of times they don't need money. They just want to go be independent.
They buy sneakers. Our daughter buys, she spends money on Chick-fil-A and Smoothie King.
Yes.
That is it.
That's it.
That's all she spends money on.
Yep.
Clothes, she likes to thrift. So the girl don't spend much money. She's a good example of a good saver because she is not a big spender.
Yeah. But a lot of kids are not like that.
Yeah.
But I would say make sure that you level set from early on, your teenager, young adult, they need to save most of their money. When they're going to work, they need to save most of their money, period. Because what else are they using their money for?
Right.
Junk, crap, stuff that they don't need.
Boys buying video games or Xbox subscriptions.
Sneakers.
Or, sneakers. Yeah, just whatever it is.
Right. Girls going to get the nails done. Listen, now, save half of your check.
All that is fine. But make sure you have an emergency fund in place. And as a parent, it's a good thing that you help your kids learn this, because at some point they're going to be on their own. Mm-hmm. And though you are their fallback while they live in your house, it's good to build those skills now so they can develop that muscle of understanding that if something comes up, there's a way for you to respond to it.
So the thing that we did, because we think that you should have 3 to 6 months of your expenses. Once you get that $1,000 and you get out of debt, you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses as an emergency fund. And so for our oldest, who is now 25, we wanted to ensure that she was able to get 3 months of expenses saved. And so her first year on her own, we matched what she saved. Well, she had some savings already. So she wasn't starting from zero, and she wasn't starting from 1,000, because she had several thousand in there.
But I would say we actually challenged her.
We did.
Because we said, look, we want you to get to a certain level where you have this 3 to 6 month emergency fund built up. So if anything happens, you don't have to feel like you're in panic or peril and you got to call us. You can respond and you can do what you need to. So we challenged her and we said, look, whatever you save over the course of a year, we will match up to a certain limit. Like, you're not just going to be in my pocket.
I will say, though, she did a good job. She did better than I kind of thought. She surprised us. Yeah. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So when we had to pay the piper, we had to double check and recheck and add that stuff up. We were like, wait a minute.
I was like, uh-oh.
How much did we say we would get her?
I was like, we did say that?
She did good.
But, as a parent, I felt good supporting her and putting her in that position. So now if something happens, I know that I can just say, hey, don't worry about it. Use your emergency fund. You could take care of it. Like,
case in point.
That's funny. We looked at each other like.
Case in point.
Same brain.
Literally 6 days later or 5 days later, she was about to take her car. When she got back to where she lives, she was taking her car to go get looked at because somebody broke off her back windshield wiper.
Look, seriously. Somebody did that on purpose.
On purpose.
You know who you are if you out there.
You don't play.
Don't let us catch you. Don't let us catch you slipping.
We don't play around here.
Look.
Anyway.
You know what? That's not a godly attitude. Let's bring it back.
But that's not something you call insurance for. Right. You just got to replace that joker, you know? And so, it's like one of those things where she didn't plan for that, but it's a car repair.
But with that, I also told them, I saw that we can fix this ourselves. I said, go to the dealers, see how much they would charge for it. And if it's over X amount, don't do it. I said, order the part. And I actually sent her a YouTube video that shows her exactly how to do it, because it's literally take a bolt off, take the part off, put the new part on, put the bolt back on. I was like, that is not worth what the dealership was going to try.
And as soon as you saw it, I was like, yeah, that's easy.
Easy.
I appreciate you, because I didn't have that coming up. I didn't really know how to be handy with the car and all that kind of stuff. And you forced them to think outside the box on some of this stuff. Like you've had them fix a few things on their cars that I would have just taken it to the shop.
I was on FaceTime with our youngest daughter, and her headlights were out. I was like, well, get that manual out, look and see where the fuse box is in the manual, see which fuse is for the lights. And she was taking the fuses out. I was like, if it looks like this, it's bad. And she's like, no, that's good, putting them back. And long story short, her bulbs were out. And she and her boyfriend, they went to...
Her boyfriend. Did you say that on... Did you really say that?
Yeah, I guess I did.
Anyway, go ahead on.
But they went to the auto supply parts store and got the headlights and put them in, and boom. Well, she put them in. She was showing him. So
I love it when she can show her dude something. Come on now. We strong, independent women around here.
Look, I want them to be able to stand on their own, and I think an emergency fund, that's another thing that will help your children be able to stand on their own, so they're not always calling mom and dad. They are equipped to solve problems that they face, and if they have the money to solve those problems, that makes it a whole lot simpler.
Yeah.
And it's something that they don't have to stress out over, and you as a parent don't have to stress out over.
Yeah, and it empowers them. It empowers them to feel like, they can take control. They don't have to worry and all of that. So back to sweet potato.
Yeah, sweet potato's done. Sweet potato is cooked.
So why is sweet potato cooked?
Sweet potato is baked.
Why is sweet potato cooked?
I got the car checked out, and they said, "Oh yeah, the engine is blown," which I was surprised because I take good care of their cars, and somehow there was an issue with the coolant, which I checked, and I was surprised. But yeah, engine's done. So.
And they said how much?
Well, I got a couple of estimates because, any good person, any good consumer.
You get more than one.
Will get multiple estimates, and they all came back in that $10,000 to $11,000 range. I was like, oh, no.
Oh, no.
Not today. Not today, Satan.
I was like, wait a minute. What we not going to do? Because that car, we spent, $5,600, $5,700 on the car.
That's right there. That's a lesson in and of itself, parents.
Yeah.
Don't go out here buying your kids your first car, $20,000, $30,000 car. Because first of all, they going to hit something.
Yeah.
And second of all, they need to learn to appreciate the things that they get.
Yeah.
And our daughters, they had to pay for half of their car. So that $5,700, we pay half and she paid half.
Yep.
And she took care of that thing for 4.5, almost 5 years she had that car.
And
so
she would have had it a little bit longer had the engine not blown,
Right.
So.
But I ain't tell you this.
What?
I looked at her account and I saw a bunch of charges for Lyft.
Yeah, she be needing a little help.
She off campus, so she's like, man, this walk is this walk is for real.
Yeah.
So I looked. I actually had to laugh a little because it was like Lyft.
She was like, I ain't taking this bus.
She was like, man, I'm sick of this bus. Yeah. But when she gets another car, she will so appreciate it. And I'm all about, attitude of gratitude, attitude of appreciation.
Right.
And as parents, we have to help our adult children learn to navigate those things so it's not an expectation. Because I think this generation is that generation where they expect that you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. And it's like, okay, you got to earn this because we were of the earn it generation.
I didn't have, I paid for my first car, right? Like my mother gave me a car that broke down and then, it was, I have to say, okay, she gave me a car. The first car she did give me. And when that broke down, I paid.
Yeah, you bought a new car. I paid for my first car too.
I didn't know I wasn't supposed to buy no new car. Like I didn't need to be doing that at the age I was at. I was in college paying a monthly payment.
Look, I paid for my first car too.
Do not recommend. But see, you didn't have a car payment.
I know. I paid $400 for it.
See, smart.
It was a piece of junk, but
my car was a piece of junk too. But
the first one, not the second one.
The second one was
the second one was brand new.
Yeah, second one was good.
My second car I paid $800 for. It was a slightly nicer piece of junk.
Wait, what was your second car?
Well, people don't even know these cars anymore.
No,
my first car was a Dodge Aries K.
Okay.
The K car.
Oh yeah.
Then my second car was a Plymouth Reliant, which was the same thing, but the Plymouth version.
Yeah.
I sound like old people because people don't even
know. They don't
know
those
K
cars.
What
was your third car then?
I had a 1975 Ford Granada.
Oh my gosh, you had a lot of cars.
That was terrible. My brother gave me that car.
But what was the next car?
I had a 1979 Delta 88.
That's the one. See, okay, I didn't know you had 3 cars before that car. That's crazy.
That D88. The D88 was a dog though.
Well, when did you? How old were you? Were you in college?
With the D88, I was a sophomore in college when I bought that. But I paid like $800 for it. But it was in great mechanical order.
That's the one I remember. I was waiting on you to say it. It took 4 cars for you to get there.
Yeah, goodness. Yeah. But then I got a 87 Honda Accord after that.
I know, because I Was that I didn't
You didn't
know.
meet
I
me
didn't
with
meet
that,
you. I
no.
met you in the 26 the 626.
After the Accord, that's when I actually
had a
got
lot of cars, dude.
That's when I got the Mazda 626. That's when you saw me. You was like, "Oh, I got to get him."
I had two cars. I had a Ford Escort.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the one that ended up dying. And then I bought a Cavalier. And we met.
Which I inherited after we got married.
Yes. Just imagine Mr.
Rolling
Incredible.
in the Cavy dog.
Mr. Incredible getting out of that little tiny car. That was him.
That was
Anywho.
tiny. I guess I did have a lot of cars.
You did? I did not know you had that many cars.
Was that like 5 cars I had?
Yeah, prior to me meeting you. And we was in our early 20s.
Yeah.
Dude.
Hey,
okay.
I kept me some wheels. I had to get around.
You did. So now our plan, you said it, our plan is to make sure that our kids graduate with the vehicle. Because frankly, when people graduate from college, a lot of times they're renting, but they're going to spend money on a car.
It's the biggest expense that they are going to incur is to go out and buy a vehicle and have a $500-$600 car note.
And we wanted to avoid that. And so since our girls both got scholarships that covered 90 to 100%, praise the Lord, of their tuition.
Praise them.
Hallelujah. Their tuition, we wanted to ensure that we pave that way for them. So you can pull out of a 529 the amount of scholarship dollars that they have had in that year.
That's the exception to 529s because you can pull that money out and you don't have to pay the penalty on it. The school will send you a statement and then you claim it on your taxes when you pull that money out.
Yeah, because we would have had to pay that, but because they earned a scholarship, we didn't have to pay it. And so you don't have any tax hits on that or anything. And so
and ask your tax professional about that because I think that's a loophole. I won't even call it a loophole, but it's just a rule within 529s that I don't think a lot of people understand. So.
Right. But if the scholarships are $10,000 and tuition and room and board is $15,000, you can pull out $10,000 out of your 529
you're gonna end up,
against the scholarships, but you're gonna have to pay a little bit more. Yeah. So anyway, the point is that's how we were gonna buy them cars, and so we wanted to just ensure that we were able to do that because why buy another $5,000 car or $6,000 car just to go turn around in a year and a half when she graduates and go get another one? Right. So that was
I think the bottom line is that we as parents have been planning. Yeah. By investing in 529s for college education, but the whole time encouraging our girls to, study well, do extracurriculars. So when you present to universities, you have a complete package that you are competitive and you can get scholarships, especially if you decide to go to in-state universities versus out-of-state universities. There's a greater probability that you will get scholarships in state than going out of state.
Correct. Very true.
That took some guidance from us to help them understand that as well. But then we save for the 529s. We have an emergency fund. They have emergency funds. So when things come up, there's different ways that we can respond to like this vehicle being put in a ditch
and having to just move forward. And what do we do now, right? And so because we have those dollars or we have set dollars aside for our kids' education, that's another essentially emergency fund. That's another way for us to navigate in this season while she's in school. And so we're just using that to go get her another car. And the coolest thing is when you actually put all of these safeguards up, you do feel safe. I don't like spending money. I don't enjoy spending big dollars. I'll spend $20.
I'm glad
$30, $50.
I'm glad you touched on that because even though we have these plans, you still were like, "Oh my God, I don't want to spend this money." It's like, well, we've always been planning to do it.
It's overwhelming. I had planned to do it in her senior year. Yeah. I didn't plan to do it in her junior year.
Yeah, I think even before you with our older child,
Yeah.
you were like, you had.
I just had.
I felt like you
heart
had
palpitations.
Sweat beads starting to come down your head.
I'm not even gonna trip.
Yeah.
I did. I don't enjoy big numbers. Make me nervous. They just. Yeah. I don't care.
You definitely do not like spending money like that.
I don't. Yeah.
$100, $200. You like, oh, I'm good with that.
Right.
But it even took years for you to get to.
It did.
$200 where you were like, oh, I could just spend this. Not that we didn't have the money. It was just, I don't know. It's just inherently something inside of you.
Mm-hmm. It was.
It's okay. It's all good.
I'm kind of cheap. I like nice things.
I'm not gonna call you cheap. You're definitely frugal.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're definitely frugal. I know. I'm the spender of this scenario here.
You are.
I feel like I've worked hard. We've been very diligent, and doing the things that we're telling you about. Saving in the 529, getting out of debt, having an emergency fund, that now I'm at a position where, I can spend money and not worry about it. Because another benefit I was thinking about, I wanted to make sure we brought people up to speed on, is that with a 529, that helps reduce your tax load too.
Yeah.
Because depending upon your state, they may have a tax credit that comes directly off of your taxes when you put that money into a state-funded 529.
Yep.
So there's benefits there. So there's a myriad of benefits to that, but you have to make sure you get the right investment tool for you if you want to fund college, because a 529 is only one vehicle that's available out there that people can utilize.
Yep, absolutely. So I mean, honestly, I have a lot more peace this week than I did last week. Mm-hmm. I'm not overwhelmed anymore about the need to purchase her a car.
Yep.
And actually, our financial situation doesn't exactly change. To be honest, like the only thing that we're probably coming out of pocket is the towing.
Yeah, $120.
Yeah, so in that regard, the emergency was annoying, disruptive, and irritating.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
All of those things.
But our girls learned how to handle an emergency. Yep. Our youngest had money in her account to handle the emergency should she need to use it.
Very good experience to have. Mm-hmm. And you don't want them to get the experience, but it was great to be able to be there and help them navigate.
Yeah.
And I went and spent the day with her, and we looked at cars, and I taught her how to be shrewd at car dealerships.
Do you think she got the message?
She got them. You asked
her. Is her face gonna look like that?
Yeah, you asked her if she got the message.
Is that what shrewd looks like?
She was looking at me like, Dad. She was like, Dad, chill out. I was like, don't tell these people anything about you.
Don't give them any information.
I just turned into a different person. Like,
when you trying to get a deal,
I'm locked in.
Chris the dealer. Don't mess with me. Don't pass go. Don't play with me. That's what
Don't collect $200.
I mean, you turn into a different person, and I'd be like, all right.
You'd be like, all right, go ahead, get the deal. I'm going to be over here.
Right. Because I can't. Sometimes I'll be like, he's doing the most. He is doing the most.
Oh, no, it's just something about the art of the deal.
You were like,
get into it.
They're into the car $500. Well, they ain't going to get all $500. And you tell the guy, we're going to split the difference. I'm like, dude, they can't make no money up in here with this guy.
Hey. He made $250 on
He did. You know what? He said, deal. I said, Lord have mercy.
It's about moving units.
It is.
Okay.
So
the more units he moves, the less interest he's going to pay on those loans, on those cars that sit on his lot, because they don't own them.
Lord have mercy. Okay. So
look, don't get me going.
I know. Wait, I got to bring you back. So make sure your kids have an emergency fund in addition to you have an emergency fund. What is your make it worth it?
Well, we did not go into our emergency fund to pay for this car.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's a big deal.
The new to our daughter car.
Right.
Yes.
That's a big deal because we had already put things in place that we didn't have to go and take money out of our emergency fund. That money is for our emergencies.
Yeah.
And so I think the make it worth it is to really sit down and craft your plan. And think about having an emergency fund for you and for a child. It doesn't have to be on the same level, but make sure they have something in place and they understand. because what made it worth it for me was that I had peace of mind.
Yeah.
And peace of mind comes at a premium
yeah.
when you're dealing with kids and things
There's
like that.
safety.
Yeah, especially, a father of daughters. I always want to make sure my girls are good. So, making it worth it for me was like peace of mind.
Yeah.
That we took the time to set those accounts up and had a plan and a strategy that we were going to, work. So when it came up, it was like, well, okay, let's get there, make sure you're safe, get you situated. We'll sort it all out later.
Yeah.
So, But what about you? In this scenario, what was your make it worth it?
I actually have two. One is work on trying to ensure your kids get scholarships of some sort, be it through school choice or, they're obviously academics or athletics or whatever, but prioritize going after scholarships because they do pay off while you're saving for college. Do both. So I think that that's really important because honestly, both of those things have helped us be in the position that we are in to be able to do what we're doing for them. But the other thing that we failed to talk about it. I feel like it's kind of good to say is if your kid is off campus in college and they're paying their expenses and things like that, they probably do need a bigger emergency fund. And right. I would suggest, whatever their expenses are in 1 month, they need to at least have
3 months of that.
Yeah, set aside. Because that's just safety, right? Mm-hmm. That's a cushion that helps them feel more secure especially if they're not nearby, right? So I think as your child grows in their responsibilities, it's good to grow how much they have in savings and work with them on that too. So, making it worth it is just all about ensuring that you prioritize emergency funds over credit cards, I would say. Right. Yeah.
Well, I can say this week has been full of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But I can end this feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I feel so much better than a week ago or 10 days ago.
Yes.
For sure.
Well, look, we hope that you guys take this and get those emergency funds going for you and your kids. And until next time,
we're out.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all of your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up to receive our free guide, The 7 Reasons Your Money Relationship Isn't Working with Your Partner, on ForBetterandWorth.com.
Until next time, we're out of here.